When you look at what a business owner is thinking about, usually the top five are something like my taxes, the rising cost of health insurance, its liability. Well, it's not in the top five. A 401k is a way to solve for at least some of those. So it definitely helps you attract and retain good employees.
Welcome to Simple Sense for Small Business. And today we have a bit of a treat because my friend of over 20 years is with us to talk about pension plans, retirement plans, and how small businesses may be disqualifying themselves out of having a healthy retirement plan for themselves and for employees, or just for themselves if they're a solopreneur. We're going to get into all of that. So I'd like to welcome Jerry Alena, my friend. Not first. You were my pension advisor first when I was installing plans for clients way back in 2001. And then my friend, and here we are 2023, 22 years later. Thank you, Jerry, for being here. Introduce yourself.
Linda, it's a pleasure. Absolutely a pleasure. Thanks for having me on. So I was born and raised in Connecticut. I went to the University of Connecticut. And when you graduate in Connecticut, you do what everybody else does. You join the insurance business. So that's what I did. I started working at Travelers in 1990, started getting a focus on small business pensions in about 1994, moved out to New York City, helped Guardian bring their product to market, and then became a wholesaler for the Hartford in 1999. And that's around the time I met you. Our bread and butter client is about anywhere from 2 to 20 lives.
Let's get into, since you brought that up, small business and 2 to 20 lives. First of all, are there plans for solopreneurs?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that a new development?
I mean, there's a retirement plan for almost anybody, but sometimes talking to retirement plans with business owners is like going to the dentist. They don't want to talk about it. They think it's going to cost a lot of money. They think they have to cover everybody, but it's just like what you see in your world. They're better off if they talk to an expert.
So with retirement plans, and there were rules that we had to pay attention to, but there were also flexibilities. So where do small business owners miss the mark on that?
You know, when you think about it, if you're a small business owner, if you don't have a retirement plan set up, you already have a plan. And that is you're going to work until you get to a point where you feel like you can sell your business. When you sell your business, the question's always going to be, what's it worth? Most business owners tend to have the impression that their business is worth more than it is. So I always recommend that business owners, if they haven't done it, get a business valuation. And for most entrepreneurs, especially solopreneurs, your business is worth a lot less without you.
Inherently.
Because your clients, exactly, your clients are your relationships. So when I look at a retirement plan, it is a great way to build what I would call an invincible, untouchable war chest. You can either hang on until you get a buyer with the right price, or your retirement plan is actually the buyer. And that war chest, nobody can take that away from you at any time, no matter what. If you get sued, if you go bankrupt, 401k, retirement plan money, IRAs cannot be attached, even on distribution.
What do you mean, even on distribution?
Even when you take the money out, they can't attach
plan.
that. Right, from the retirement plan. The classic example that we often use in the business is ask O.J. Simpson, because he's able to live off the pension plans that he had.
You bring up such a good point about how business owners are very reactive. And when you're not proactive, then you're flying by the seat of your pants. And if you're flying by the seat of your pants, then you have to then learn on the fly about certain rules or certain things that have to happen. Like you said, selling your business, you wake up one day and you think it's more than it is. And then you're like, I don't have enough money. That's not enough. But you thought you were going to be retiring because you thought you had an amount in your mind. I think what I would love to chat about a little bit further is what stops small business owners from executing on this as a strategy for their small business, for their future, for their retirement, for retention of employees, all of that.
That's a great question. And I remember seeing a study. It's well over a decade ago. It might even be 20 years ago, but I'll bet it still holds. When you look at what a business owner is thinking about, 401k is number 49 of the top 50 things that they think about, right? It's not even on the radar screen. Usually the top five are something like my taxes, the rising cost of health insurance, its liability, what's my cash flow going to be like,
Mhm.
And
I think you hit on all like those are
yeah,
we've heard that too in the last few years for sure.
absolutely. How do I attract and retain good people? Well, it's not in the top five. A 401k is a way to solve for at least some of those. So it definitely helps you attract and retain good employees. So employee retention and keeping that institutional knowledge in your shop is absolutely important. In terms of employee benefits, of all the benefits that you provide and the increasing cost of health insurance, 401k is the least expensive. It's not going to cost you anywhere near the 30% of pay that health insurance is typically going to run. And then in terms of liability, if you outsource a lot of the work to a provider like the one I'm with, for instance, then you don't really have to worry about it. It helps take care of all of those things itself. And finally, cash flow. Again, you have that nest egg that as a business owner, you could at least access. It would be limited reasons that you could access it, but you could always borrow and give yourself a loan as much as $50,000. So it can help you with some cash flow issues as they come up.
Why do they think it's so expensive? And if it's not in the top 10, then
Mhm.
where are they getting the information that they think it's expensive if it's not even kind of in the forefront of their mind as a consideration
Yeah.
for business?
Retirement plans used to be expensive. If you
Oh.
go back years and years ago, depending on how the retirement plan was structured, the record keeping could be very expensive. The administration could be in the thousands of dollars early on. That has changed a long time ago. In fact, I would argue that it's harder to find a provider nowadays because of what I would call fee compression. So in our industry, it's fee compression. For all the entrepreneurs out there, things have gotten a lot cheaper. So the way to think about it is retirement plans are a lot like laptop computers. If you've had yours for 3 to 5 years, it's
Mhm.
probably worth looking at again to see if you can't get a better deal somewhere else. I used to say when I started at the Hartford, we were number 37 of the top 35 providers in the industry. And that number went into the hundreds, and it has long past consolidated again. The business is going through a lot of fee compression, which is a great opportunity for business owners to start a plan.
Which, being
Mhm.
in the insurance business for over 30 years, insurance historically has always been where you can't put it in a drawer and never look at it again. It's not, it's not a one-hit wonder. It's not a
Set it and forget it.
thank you. Set
Mhm.
it's not that.
Yeah.
And what it sounds like you're saying now is because of how it's evolved, just like you have to review your payroll company, you have to review your insurance, you have to update certain legal documents, perhaps. Now you're saying
Mhm.
also, if you have a plan, you should review it. If you don't have a plan, you should actually do some research to investigate if it even makes sense economically for your business because of all the considerations you mentioned a little bit ago.
Right. Absolutely. I'll even add in, we've all heard about the recent chatter about problems with Social Security and its break even date and it's going bankrupt.
Mhm.
There is recent legislation that has made it very easy for a business owner to start a retirement plan. The rules for 401k have changed completely. To help take some of the weight off Social Security, Secure Act, it's actually, you can Google it, it's called Secure Act 2.0. The government's introduced a tax credit for small business owners that is equal to $250 per eligible employee as a tax credit off your fees for the establishment of a 401k plan, not just the first year, but for 3 years.
Really?
So, yeah, they want you to do this. If you have 10 employees, that's $2,500 off the cost of that every year for 3 years
As a credit.
as a credit.
Wow.
They
Wow,
didn't.
that's kinda sexy, right? As
It's
sexy as it's gonna get.
it's in is yeah, it's as exciting in the 401k world as it gets. Employers worry about inflation and the cost of everything going up. So you always have to worry a little bit about the match. If your employees make under $100,000, the government will now give you a tax credit of $1,000 per employee participating in a plan toward their match.
They give you a credit to help you make the match. Is that
Right.
what I'm hearing you say?
Right. And that match, it diminishes over 5 years, but for the first 2 years, it's 100%. The idea is that they are helping you pay for the match. Like I said, the cost for the business owner to establish these plans is going away rapidly. And depending on the size of your business, you may actually have a free plan.
All right. Well, I'm definitely going to be putting links to how to reach you.
Sure.
And even if it's not you, because of whatever reason,
Mhm.
you have resources to direct folks
Right.
depending on their scenario. Okay.
I'm going to throw 2 more bombshells at you.
Okay.
All right.
Bring it.
Secure 2.0 made a couple of other changes. There are a lot more coming, but let's talk about the relevant changes that ACT had in place. It's no news that you have employees that are just graduated college and are buried in student loan debt. So what Secure 2.0 allows students, recently graduated students who are paying student loans to do, is to have their student loan payment considered a contribution to a plan, and the employer can match it.
What?
Right. So a way to
That's
attract, yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy. As they're paying their student loan, the employer can match if they have a 4% of pay match.
Because they
They can,
couldn't contribute to a plan because they have
right,
to make this debt payment.
right.
So they can leverage that with
Mhm.
a contribution otherwise from the employer. So the student doesn't necessarily have to come out of pocket with cash in addition to making the payment, but the employer will be able to make the payment, the match
The match, right,
because of the payment, because of the
right,
debt. Okay.
right.
All right. I'm
Don't
with you.
ask anybody to do that today because nobody knows how the reporting is going to work. It hasn't been automated yet. And
Oh, so
as a new law, the IRS hasn't come up with the regulations on how to run it, but that is what the law says. So
wow.
it's a big break for students who normally wouldn't have been able to contribute to a retirement plan. Anybody in the business, retirement plan business knows that contributing early is a
Mhm.
key indicator of success. So this allows them to take advantage of contributing early.
And then there's another one you said?
Another bombshell. Yep. No,
Okay.
there's going to be a few of them, but the one I'll go over last is in a 401k. A lot of people are probably familiar with the fact that they can put away money either on a pre-tax basis or on an after-tax or Roth basis. And for years, employers and employees have tried to figure out, when I defer my money, how much should I put away? Should I put away money pre-tax or Roth? The employer money, the match, the profit sharing contribution, were always pre-tax. With the new legislation starting this year in January, they can now have that employer contribution be a Roth contribution. The employee can elect to take the taxes on it and have the money go in after tax and never pay taxes on that money again when they retire.
So what you're saying is in the 401k plan or the pension plan, you
Mhm.
can have a bucket for Roth.
Right. So
But
your own deferrals can be Roth.
I thought Roths were after tax deferrals or contributions.
They're after tax contributions.
All right. So what did I miss that you just said that sounded like you'll never pay taxes? Oh, because they're inside a qualified
They're
plan.
inside a qualified plan. So
Okay.
because you contributed after tax, when you take the money out at retirement, you don't have to pay taxes on it.
First of all, let's just
Mhm.
clarify that
Mhm.
when someone says I have a qualified plan, it means that technically it's pre-tax monies. So that when
Mhm.
you get to that minimum age requirement, or what they call it at RMD, required minimum distribution, that you would pay taxes on that withdrawal because it was historically all pre-tax monies when you were deferring into the
Right.
plan. So
Right. That's
qualified
correct.
means
Yeah.
historically pre-tax. But
Right.
now you're saying you can put a Roth inside the qualified plan
Right.
and
And there's
not risk getting taxed on that monies or penalized.
right. Not only that, there's no income limit for it, like there is with the Roth IRA. And now the employer match and the
Oh,
employer profit sharing contribution, if they have one,
okay.
can be Roth as well. And
Whoa.
yeah, it's new.
No, this is blowing my mind
Mhm.
because the whole thing about Roth was if you had some extra disposable income, but it was after tax, just put it away
Mhm.
and you never have to worry about having tax again. But there's
Mhm.
still tax implications.
Yeah, because you're paying the taxes now. So, if you're in a high tax state like New York or Illinois or California, you really have to decide, are you better off with the deduction now?
Yeah.
But if you live in a state that doesn't have a lot of taxes in it, like New Hampshire or Florida or Texas or Tennessee, Roth may be the way to go. Given the tax brackets, some of your employees may not pay taxes at all. They may get money back from the government. So Roth is a great way for them to contribute.
But are you saying the employer match is after tax as well? Or it
It
doesn't
can
matter?
be. It can be.
It
Yeah,
can be.
it'll
Okay.
be up to the participant, but they can receive it that way if they want.
So it really all depends on how the money's being deposited into the account and into which bucket, if it's pre-tax or after tax. And if it's an employer contribution, it really just depends on what bucket, right? Am I
Right.
hearing
Yeah.
right? Okay.
And, essentially we have to make new buckets that we never had before. So it'll be a
Yeah.
while before your plan's able to accomplish some of the things that the new legislation has said that they can do, but it's there.
Let's just talk about the differences between pension and retirement and how they're the same, but how they're different and what's involved with which one.
Well, let me start out by saying there's really three types of plans. There's the IRA-based plans. So those are things like your SEP or your simple plans. There's defined contribution plans and defined benefit plans. Now, I'm grouping defined contribution and defined benefit together because they're considered qualified plans. The IRA-based plans don't qualify under ERISA, so they're not called qualified plans.
Can you just ERISA, what does that mean again?
ERISA is in our business called Every Rotten Idea Since Adam, but it really stands for the Employee Retirement Income Security Act
Oh,
of
right. I'm
1974.
so glad I don't
That,
remember that
yeah,
from my days. See, I think that's what's going on here for small business owners. There is a bit of a steep learning curve, which is why it's so important to have an advisor who is very familiar with the ins and outs because of all the different steps. Not only the different decisions you have to make, but then you have to, depending on the type of plan, you have to get an administrator, which what does that mean? And that is basically to make sure that you're complying with the rules of the plan to protect the money, to protect the employees, and the employees not absconding with money and the employers not absconding, right?
The myth is that the K in 401k stands for complicated.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's 2023. It makes sense to outsource your 401k and pension administration to an administration firm. And we can link at least at my firm, we can link with 160 payroll firms and make it easy for you.
Oh, wow.
And then you have us as an administrator to say, look, money can come out in this instance. It's not allowed to come out in that instance. We keep it all legal. And like I said, the fees to run something like that are about $3,000 a year. So the third type of plan that we haven't talked about yet is the traditional pension. And nowadays they've been modernized by something called a cash balance plan. But if you make a lot of money, I want to say you want to be in the 250 and above range, and you do not have a lot of employees, and you're older. So when I say older, I mean 50 and above. You're a great candidate for a cash balance plan. If you think about a doctor who hasn't even gotten out of medical school until they're, at least 30 and has worked in a practice or as a resident for a number of years and not even bought their own practice until they're in their 40s, they probably have so much debt that they can't even think about putting money away. So a cash balance plan is a great way to catch up. And once you're in your 50s, we can start talking about putting away a couple of $100,000 a year pre-tax for yourself so that you can, again, catch up to where everybody else was before. I looked at a number recently. If you are an NYU graduate becoming a dentist, you've invested $500,000 in your education.
Whoa.
And that's a lot of money to pay back. And then unless you want to work for someone else, you actually have to either buy a practice or start one, and neither one is cheap. You could be $1 million in debt before you're even able to put away $1.
Do you want to just share one tip, like the DILY?
The DILY system.
DILY system.
I use what I call the DILY system when I'm looking to work with people, and it just simply stands for Do I Like You, DILY. If we like each other, let's do business together. If we don't, look, we can move on. One of the quickest ways to kind of show yourself as an expert, in my mind, back in the day, and I still do it now, are events. And Linda, I think you were one of the first attendees at one of my 401k boot camps.
Yeah. I remember that.
So,
in Connecticut when you were still in Trumbull, I think it was, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And We've held them all over the state. It's a lot of fun. And it's a lot of fun to work with you.
Yeah, we've had
Yeah.
some good times, good
Mhm.
meetings, good
Mhm.
events. I just want to say thank you to you for coming here. And I've learned a ton here today.
Mhm.
And even though I was licensed at one time to do this, I
Mhm.
love that this has become way more accessible and affordable for small business owners to really kind of stop and think about their future and all the other benefits that could come along with it that we mentioned: retention of employees,
Mhm.
cash flow, tax benefits, etc. So I just want to say thank you again. I know we could keep talking,
We
but
need
we're
something like Club Random where we
yeah.
hang around and tell war stories. Yeah.
But let people know how they can find
Mhm.
you. Website, email, LinkedIn. Where are you? Where can we find
Sure.
you?
So I always say it's critical to have a great phone number. So 888 JRA 401k.
No
Well,
way.
yep. There's a website that you can go to for Vanity 800 numbers, and that's the one I chose. Or you can reach me at 203-641-5151. I prefer the phone. It's a chance for me to get to know you a little bit. We can do Zoom. If you need to email me, it's J for Jerry, like in Seinfeld, ALENA at trpcweb.com, and that stands for the Retirement Plan Company. If you are reaching us through this event, let me know.
We'll have all of the links in either the video description
Mhm.
or the podcast show notes so that you don't have to keep rewinding to hear that
Mhm.
again. So I just want to say thank you again, Jerry. It's always entertaining, informative, and educational when we're getting together, even on social occasions. So
Oh,
thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you
Linda,
so much.
thank you very much.
And we'll do
Take
this
care.
again.
You got it.